Hey everybody, it's Floods Worsen from the Ed Boys, and today we're going to be getting rich using a zombie axe. There's a lot of players that are under the impression that you need max gear and perfect boss kills to be able to make a lot of money, so what I'm going to do here is get some budget gear, go mess up some bosses, all while making 100 million GP. The zombie axe is a one-handed battle axe that requires 65 attack to wield, landing it in between the dragon scimitar and the abyssal whip level-wise. The weapon is not best in slot anywhere, but it's pretty cheap, it has low level requirements, and it can be used in a bunch of different places since it has a good slash and a good crush bonus. So I've cleared out the bank here other than some untradeable outfits and whatnot that are hanging around in the first tab, but we're going to be starting with a 5 mil cash stack, which 2 mil is going directly into that zombie axe, and then we're filling up the rest with this setup here. We have a Helm of Natives Knot, a Fire Cape, Amulet of Glory, War Blessing, we got that zombie axe. I do have a Dragon Defender, but for some reason I'm not wearing it in this screenshot, so let's go ahead and drag that over here. We've got Obsidian Armor, Barrow's Gloves, Dragon Boots, and then a Ring of Shadows, which is a reward from the Desert Treasure 2 quest. Here's a peek at the stats as well. I do have 83 attack and 85 strength, which are a pretty good starting point for some higher level bosses, but there's still a lot of room to work with. Even if I knocked out 90 attack and strength before this journey, that would be a pretty nice DPS boost, but this is what we're working with for now. We're going to start off real easy with some gargoyles. With the rest of the money, I did buy some prayer potions, super attack and super strength potions, and then I bought some monkfish, even though we're going to be using just prayer potions at first. I didn't need those monkfish yet. I don't know what I'm doing. Now we are off to the swamp. Gargoyles are located in the Slayer Tower northwest of Canifis. They require 75 Slayer to kill, and they are weak to crush. In fact, they're even more weak to crush than they used to be, since they recently were adjusted in those combat rebalances. I did start the gargoyles grind before that change was made, so your zombie axe should actually be doing a little bit better than mine did. In town real quick, I did spend Slayer points to buy the Gargoyle Smasher feature from the Slayer Master, so it's going to automatically smash the gargoyles, and then I did have to run back to buy a rock hammer that I forgot. After that, I had to run back again to buy a nose peg. Since I will not be on a Gargoyle Slayer task, I do have to run by a Baron Spectres to get upstairs. I basically had spent all of my cash on supplies at this point, but after one trip, I did take the GP that I made and go change the setup a little bit. I bought a Ring of Wealth to pick up the coins for me. We have Proselyte Armor to save some more prayer points since I'm just camping Protect Melee. And then I got some Alch runes so that I can actually alch the items during the trip instead of having to bank more often. Gargoyles are super AFK, which I am a fan of since I like to multitask and work on some videos while making gains. I mean, maybe I'm working on editing this video right now. Though that timing wouldn't really make any sense, seeing as how we fought these gargoyles a little while back. Would you turn around and get back to editing, dude? Come on, this video is already late. Being AFK is nice for multitasking, but it also makes the fight not really that engaging. So I decided to get up to about 5 mil in my loot tracker, effectively doubling the GP that we've made so far, and then move on to the next NPC. Now I did have to buy some supplies in the middle of all this, so that's not pure profit from this loot tracker, but we are making progress. Next we have the Mole. The giant mole is a pretty straightforward boss that lives under Falador Park. He only attacks with melee, so you can just camp your protection prayers and use prayer potions. The only annoying part is once he's under half health, every time that you attack him, there's a 1 in 4 chance that he will dig and come up in a random spot in the caverns. If you've completed the Falador Hard Diaries, then the Falador Shield is automatically going to tell you where the mole is in the cave, and also those same Falador Hard Diaries are going to make the mole drop noted mole skins and noted mole claws, so the diaries are pretty much a requirement. The only super rare drop that the mole has would be a pet at a 1 in 3,000 rate. Other than that, you really make most of your money from the noted claws and hides. Maybe some of those U logs aren't too bad. The mole is pretty low intensity and very consistent cash. I knocked out 500 KC, though somehow the loot tracker only shows 497. Scammed! This was a cool 16 mil worth of loot. Again, not pure profit since I'm using prayer potions, super attack and strength potions, stamina potions, and whatnot. It's significantly more money than I got from gargoyles, but it is time to move on to the next monster. At this point, I did sell off the loot from Mole and from Gargoyles to go ahead and buy an Amulet of Fury and then a Berserker Ring, which I imbued at the Nightmare Zone. Next, we have Demonic Gorillas. You need to complete the Monkey Madness 2 quest to fight these big boys, and unlike the previous 2 monsters, we're actually going to need a second combat style for this one. They switch their overheads when you do enough damage, so we won't be able to do this with only the zombie axe. To keep with the budget gear theme, I started off with a magic shortbow, an Ava's accumulator, and some amethyst arrows. Gorillas are very click intensive. This is a much different vibe than the last 2 things we were fighting. They not only changed their overhead prayer, but they're also changing their attack style every 3 zeros that they hit. Personally, I like fighting fighting bosses that are actually engaging. AFK gains are very nice for multitasking, but sometimes I am trying to actually play the game. Gorillas have good normal loot, but there is one big ticket item in here, the Zenite Shard. My plan originally was to send 300 KC, which is the drop rate for a Zenite Shard. Obviously, that doesn't guarantee that I would get one, but it is a pretty good goal. Ladies and gentlemen, Zenite Shard, boys! No way, dude! Floods! Let's go! 16 KC, bro. What? So we got that Zenite Shard super early, but I still went for the 300 KC just to see if I got multiple within the drop rate. Unfortunately, we didn't get any other uniques. The only unique I landed was the Zenite Shard, which is better than none. Halfway through the grind at 150 KC, I did sell the Magic Shortbow and I upgraded to the Eclipse Atlatl, which is a ranged weapon that was released in the first part of Varlamore. The Atlatl gets its max hit from your melee strength bonus, so you can get good DPS out of it without bringing a lot of range switches. I was already minimizing the range switches that I was bringing to make this grind as simple as possible, but I had to try out the new range weapon and I really liked it. I liked it so much that I actually made a whole video about it. Now we're moving on to some of my favorite bossing content, the wildy bosses. Specifically, we're going to be at Calvarion and Spindle. I did knock out a couple of RTO-KC just to show that you can get a kill with the zombie axe as long as you're using the step back method, but RTO isn't weak to crush, so it's really not worth it. For all three of the wildy boss, the bear, the spider, and the skeleton, you do have to complete the medium wilderness diaries to have access to the caves, and I do highly suggest completing the hard wilderness diaries while you're at it, since that will remove the teleport delay when you're trying to escape a PKer. Also, that royal seed pod that you get from the Monkey Madness 2 quest, it is a one-click unlimited teleport that works up to level 30 wilderness, and it only costs 1 coin to get it back if you get PK'd. Since PKers are a thing in the wilderness, you don't want to bring too many expensive items. As long as you're not risking expensive things, the PKers really always lose. It's just a waste of time for them. When you leave the bank, if your current risk is less than 100k, then you're not going to lose more than 100k that trip. Even if they manage to PK you for some of the drops that you hadn't banked yet, that's not really a loss on your end. You didn't have those items yet. You don't get the drop until you actually bank it when it comes to wildy bossing. I have been PK'd many times, so I have lost some money out there for sure, but just the regular drops from these bosses out here will make up for that money no problem. So it's really just a mentality thing when it comes to PKers. Don't bring that much risk out there. Just go back and get more kills when you see a PKer. They literally can't win. Sometimes it's their own fault that they can't win though. Check out this guy. So I've already been teleblocked by this guy, Broken Monkey being his username, and I just do the classic keep running through the tunnels and hopefully he splashes a freeze since I'm using Black Dragon Hide armor, and eventually he does splash the freeze and I get a little bit of distance from him. Now, it wasn't much distance. I was feeling pretty confident. As you can see, I was about to be mean and call the guy a nerd, and he just got KO'd by Venenatus on his way out of the tunnel, dude. I've never seen that before. What is that? Broken Monkey, I am sorry for calling you a nerd, though. That was rude. We've already been using some budget gear, so we're not going to be risking that much, but I did downgrade to rune gloves and rune boots to start off here. Plus, at Calvarion, I get to use the Salve Amulet, so I can keep the Amulet of Fury in the bank for now. Calvarion is the singles plus combat version of Vedian. These skeletons are very easy to kill since the majority of their attacks are just the lightning area of effect attack, and you only really need to pray against the skeletal hellhounds, although I often keep my protection prayers on too long because I get a little lazy about that. Even if I use too many prayer points, Calvarion has some really solid drops that can make up for it. I mean, before I even got to fight the boss, the very first time I entered the room, there was somebody already in here. You can't peek into the room to see if there's someone until you have 20 kills, so I was just jumping in at random, and he immediately got a Voidwaker Blade. Congratulations, Thanos. I did knock out a couple of Vedian kills. Vedian has the same mechanics as Calvarion, but he is higher combat level, deeper in the wilderness, and it's multi-combat, so a team of PKers can show up to get you. Calvarion is definitely a lot safer, but Vedian can still be very quick to kill, and his drop table provides much higher quantities of the items that Calvarion gives, so I like to knock out some of the big bosses sometimes. It was only 5 KC before a team of 2 showed up and took my stuff though. GG's. Oh, I just got a Voidwaker Blade. Bro. Dude, there's no fucking way, dude. What the fuck is this, dude? Oh my god, dude. Alright, I'm out with it. Bro. You may notice that that Void Waker blade was a little bit under 6 mil when it dropped, but over the past couple of months, it looks like the Void Waker blade has actually steadily been climbing and now sits around 25 mil GP. An extra 19 mil from that drop would have been nice, but I got it insanely early, so I'm going to take that bonus 6 mil. That being said, once I got the Void Waker piece, I feel like I'd be really upset if I got a second one instead of just moving on to Spindle, who has a much more expensive Void Waker piece. If you do pay close attention to my total XP, you'll notice that I didn't just do all my Calvarion kills, then move on to Spider. I was kind of bouncing around between the two of them at first. I do like having multiple wildy bosses on the list to give myself more options if I'm running into too many PKers. Turning off your private and hopping worlds does help a little bit, but sometimes you find that one boss is just more packed than the other. Both the Spider and the Skeleton are weak to Crush, so the Zombie Axe is good against both of them on the same attack option. At this point in the grind, I didn't plan on going back to the Skeleton or the Bear, so we are actually stuck with Spider gains. Spindle, just like Calvarion, has some solid regular loot, so even without getting a Void Waker piece, you make a lot of money out here with like Onyx Bolt tips, Red Spider's eggs, Sanfu serums, even the herb drops are pretty thick. Spindle is a little bit stronger than Calvarion, which means that Venenatis is a bit stronger than Vedian, so I didn't do too many of the Venenatis KC before I just stuck to the little spider. Like I mentioned, I'm a big fan of the wildy bosses, so honestly, I would have had no problem getting the full 100 mil just from these guys. The problem with that is that the Zombie Axe is not nearly as powerful as the Ursine Chain Mace, and the Chain Mace already falls within our budget here, so realistically, if you want to make a lot of money from the wildy bosses, you really should just upgrade to that Chain Mace instead. I still knocked out 200 Spindle KC to get some good loot overall, and I am happy with those gains, but I wanted to do even more wildy bossing, so I am thinking about for a future video with Floods, I am going to start with a budget setup and just only do wildy bossing for the one video and see how much money we make. Before we move on from the wildy bosses, let's check out some ridiculous PK escapes. If you look closely, you'll notice that I have one specific strategy, and that is to just run away. The faster I get out of there, the more likely I'm going to survive. Now, the first guy didn't teleblock me. This guy's got me in a teleblock situation, so at this point, my goal is to log out. And again, I'm just running away. Just going back to the boss's lair, making some distance, and log out. Here's a guy who really looked like he had me. Again, he's got me on the teleblock. There was another PKer running by, too. I don't know what that guy was doing. And he gets a lot of freezes on me. I'm crushing through all of my food. I take multiple paths back to the boss. It looked like I got out of there one time, but then I had to go back through again. And eventually, thanks to my Black D'hide armor, I have decent mage defense. He's not going to hit every freeze. He splashes just enough that we get out of there again. But then there was one interesting case of a Mr. Broken Monkey. Now, I just got some Red Spider's eggs, one of the better drops you can get from this boss, and boom, before I actually tele out, I've been teleblocked by our friend Broken Monkey. You may not remember. Earlier, we saw Broken Monkey already, and I called him a nerd. So this time, when I thought I was getting away, I was about to hit him with a buy, and I got too cocky, and now look at him, dude. He's got me stuck. There's no way, unless I go back to the trusty old run back through the lair method. We both get through it that first time. There was no freeze or entangle, whichever one that he's using, and I waited a second, decided to just go back through the lair again, and really had him deked out, and this time we hit him with the buy, and we got the log out. Now we're moving on to some more of the big boy bosses, starting with the Duke Succulus. The wiki says it's pronounced like Succulus. We're going to call him Duke Succulus because that sounds a lot better. Mr. Succulus is one of the 4 Desert Treasure 2 bosses that you can grind out after you complete the quest. He is weak to Slash, and for the most part, he's attacking at a 5-tick pace, which ends up being very nice for flinching with the Zombie Axe. The Scythe and the Soul Reaper's Axe both absolutely crank this boss, but the Zombie Axe really does carry his weight for being a little budget guy. Isn't he a cute little budgie-wudgie? The Arclight is technically better DPS here than the Zombie Axe, but since the Arclight attacks at a 4-tick pace, it's not as easy to keep up your max hits while flinching the boss. If you have both an Arclight and a Zombie Axe, it's very convenient to use the Zombie Axe until he hits Enraged phase, then switch to the Arclight since he is going to be attacking faster while he's enraged. But, as is the theme of the whole video, I'll just be using the Zombie Axe for my weapon. I did knock out a couple of add-ons that I purchased with the money that we've currently been making from the previous bosses. First of all, I got a Bandos Godsword. When you use the BGS spec, it does lower your opponent's defense level by however much damage you hit. This can be very helpful for that Duke grind since the Zombie Axe is not insanely accurate, but there's no guarantee that you're going to hit the BGS specs. So on average, I get more kills per hour with the Bandos Godsword, but it's quite clearly not a requirement to have it. Some of the fights, you just hit 2 zeros with the BGS anyways, and it's the same as if you didn't have one one in the first place. I also chipped in on a blood shard for an upgrade to my Amulet of Fury. It's worth noting at the time that I'm editing this video, blood shards are like 12 mil a piece, which is the highest price that I've seen them. I bought mine for like 6 or 7 mil at the time, and if it was 12 mil, I probably wouldn't have gone for a Blood Fury at Duke. The Blood Fury is a very good item, but if you're gonna spend 12 mil per shard, then you want to be using it at bosses that make even more money than Duke. My first few kills of the Duke were pretty slow. He's a pretty high level boss and we're still rocking budget gear, but once I got into a rhythm, the grind wasn't that bad at all. I did start off by making potions to wake him up, but if you just use the 40 powder on the boss instead of making potions, it does save a little bit of time in that prep phase. Getting a perfect kill really makes a huge difference. Not only does it increase your regular loot drop by 50%, but if you're getting consistent perfect kills, then you're really only taking the chip damage from his melee attack. That combined with the Blood Fury, and I was able to get like 7 to 8 kills per trip at times. Whoa, is that a Virtus mask coming in hot? Hell yeah, hell yeah. All right, not too bad. An extra 5 mil towards the 100 mil cash. No way it's a mask though. 93 KC, that is my first unique we've seen here. On my main, across all of the Desert Treasure 2 bosses, I've only gotten Virtus masks, and now on Floods, it seems like we got a Virtus mask. I'm like about to start stream too. No way, I just got that off stream, bruh. Hey, Master Combat task. Nice, I got the perfect Duke Succulus task. Sweet, that's getting 5 perfect kills in one trip. Not bad, not bad. Once you're getting multiple perfect kills in a trip, it's easier to get the longer trip as well. That's pretty cool. It might be like the first Master Combat. No, it looks like Floods has 3 Master Combat achievements completed. That's pretty dope though. I decided to end at 250 Duke KC. I made some solid cash, but there's still one more boss on the list, and that's the one that I'm looking forward to the most. It's time for Vardorvis. Vardorvis is one of my favorite bosses in the game. The fight is engaging the entire time. He has a drop that's worth like 170 mil. That one vestige could finish the 100 mil, more like 200 mil just on any drop. Plus a Virtus piece could help out with some solid bonus cash, unless it's, you know, another mask. Vardorvis is more difficult than the Duke fight. I've done a lot of Vardorvis grind before, so I wasn't too worried going into it, but it turns out maybe I should have been. At the start of the grind, I'm still rocking 83 attack, or right around 90 strength. I'm still using the zombie axe, of course, which is not a ton of DPS, especially when you take into account that Vardorvis heals for half the chip damage that he does to you. Keeping up with Vardorvis's chip healing like that is not very easy with this setup, which does make the fight very slow. I've also not completed a Kingdom Divided on Floods, which means I do not have Thralls. 83 attack is pretty low, so my accuracy could be significantly higher. And all that being said, the Abyssal Tentacle actually is going to be a little bit better DPS than a zombie axe at Vardorvis anyways. So I got up to 25 KC, hoping to get the teleport, which unfortunately I did not, and I decided that I'm not going to do any more Vardorvis until I increase the DPS a little bit. The budget zombie axe setup has been very good for making money, but we're not quite ready for Vardorvis. I was getting around the same kills per hour at Vard than I was at Duke, so we're going to go back to the Duke, but I will be returning to you soon, Mr. Vardorvis. So the original plan was to finish off the money-making at Vardorvis, but at this point now we're just going to finish up with Duke KC until we have about 100 mil worth of stuff. Based on the GP that I got in the first 250 kills and how much money I have so far, I would be approaching 100 mil in the bank at right around 750 to 800 Duke KC, which is just over the drop rate for a Mage's Vestige. So even if I get to that drop rate without getting the item, I'm still going to be reaching that goal of 100 mil, but if we can manage to get that Vestige or maybe an actually expensive Virtus piece before then we'll be able to bounce out of here kind of early. Oh my god, is that another Virtus mask? 276 KC Virtus mask coming in hot. Oh my god, there's no way. I should be happy it's Virtus, but I don't know if you guys paid attention on the first Virtus mask drop. This is the only Virtus piece that I can manage to pull from any of these bosses across any account. Oh man, if that was a Virtus robe top or a Virtus robe bottom, we probably finished the video right now at 276 KC. That's all right. It could have been nothing, all right? It could have been nothing. Ooh, by 2 seconds. New PB, 2 minutes, 11 seconds. I was at 213 for a while. Let's go ahead and bonk. Yeah, it's because I did 99 damage with the BGS. It did actually work out. Very nice. Very nice. Looking like a nice kill if you could get it there. Wait a minute. Time-wise. No way, dude! I just shaved 20 seconds off my PB after I set it like 8 kills ago. What just... Oh my god. Once my Blood Fury ran out of charges, I was in like the 550, 600 KC range, so I knew I wasn't using another full Blood Shard, and again, the price of it is rising. So instead, I got an Amulet of Torture, which is better for DPS, but obviously minus the healing effect, and I also got a Light Bearer that I can wear during the prep phase to get some extra spec energy for a few extra BGS specs. Not that I'd be wearing the Light Bearer the whole fight, just while we were running around not attacking, and then put the Imbued Berserker Ring back on while we were actually fighting. These were a nice couple of upgrades, but it also is right around the time that I started getting some mobile KC. I was away from home for a little over a week, so I only had OSRS mobile to work with, which is still awesome. It takes a little bit of adjustment getting used to doing KC with taps instead of clicks, and I've already had some bossing experience during the mobile-only series. Speaking of the mobile-only 100 mil, I know the mobile finale is extremely overdue. I will be knocking that episode out soon for those who have been patiently waiting. If you're looking forward to more mobile episodes, be sure to comment cheesecake down below. If there was one thing that I could really have on mobile, it would be like a tile marker to show where I tapped, not like a true tile marker, but the destination tile. Oh look! It's right there in the mobile settings. The mobile app has gotten a ton of quality of life add-ons since the original release, so seriously shout out to the app development team. I did reach 720 KC, which is the drop rate for the Mage's Vestige, and at this point I only had the 2 Virtus masks and 2 chromium ingots for uniques, and I was at a bank value of over 90 mil, so we're getting close to the end. We gotta get back in the caves. I wish I could tell you that I got the Vestige or like a legit Virtus drop in these bonus KC, but we really just trickled our way up to that 100 mil mark. I felt like, honestly, at the end I was only getting pineapple pizza drops for a while. The Duke just didn't want me to leave. I ended with a little bit over 750 Duke KC, and here's a look at the loot tracker for Moonlight End from mobile. And with that, it is time to sell. I haven't been saving the loot the entire time, obviously. Like, I've been using some money to buy supplies. I've been buying upgrades like the Bandos God Sword and the Amulet of Torture. I'm also a pretty big fan of the minus 5% button on the Grand Exchange while selling, which nearly got me in trouble this time. Not quite enough for that 100 mil, but I did get 4 ice quartz during the Duke grind, so let's go turn those in at the Ancient Vault. Mist runes? Not now, dude. Not like this. More mist runes? Dude, miss me with those mist runes. I've been saying this for like 750 KC. Rune ore, all right, there we go, there we go. And then dragon arrow tips, that might be enough. So we're selling off the rest of that loot, and we're selling off our beloved zombie axe, and we still got, oh my god, I'm 35k off. Wait, I have an idea. I do have extra Barrow's gloves lying around because I purchased a few of them during the Wildy boss grind. Once I made decent money off the Wildy bosses, I increased the risk a little bit. You can sell these back at the chest for 100k, but I high-alked mine instead. 100 mil, there it is, there it is. I started with 5 mil cash, I bought a zombie axe and then filled up like an obsidian warrior, and now here we are at a 100 mil cash stack. There are other weapons and upgrades that you can buy before you even get to the 100 mil mark. You don't have to make 100 mil with the zombie axe, like we talked about the Wildy weapons earlier in this video. The goal of this video was to show you that you don't need max gear and high tier weapons to make a lot of GP, and we have done just that. If you enjoyed the video, go ahead and crush that like button. Be sure to subscribe for more content. And if you want even more budget money-making videos, let me know in the comments section below which bosses you would like to see that happen with. Thank you for watching, everybody, and best of luck on your money-making grinds.